I decided it was time to upgrade my Lincoln Continental to HIDs, and based on the good reviews I got from a friend of mine, I decided to go with DDM Tuning's HID kit. This is a 55 watt kit, 5000K. And I assumed because this company's in California, it would get to Ohio in maybe 3-4 days, no big deal. Well, apparently what I didn't do is read the fine print, where they tell you that most of their HIDs are shipped directly from China. So 19 days later, this is what I get in the mail. As you can see, it looks like the reason it took so long to get here is because they have to personally drop kick this box all the way here. So hopefully nothing's broke inside, and hopefully they'll work. Guess we'll get it open and see how bad it looks. The wiring harness. This is a Bi-Xenon kit, so it requires this harness to move the HIDs up and down. And one of the ballasts. Another ballast. Don't see anything broken or damaged yet. But here's our box with the nice glass headlight bulbs in them. You can see that thing took a hit. Well, they don't look broken. They definitely weren't handled with care on their way here, but it doesn't look like anything's broke. So I guess we'll get them hooked up and see if they work. Now, just like the last kit I installed, which was a Zentech kit, this kit doesn't come with any directions whatsoever either. Which is not that big a deal. Basically the same thing. You've got your main harness controller. You've got the wires coming out to go to your ballast. You've got the small wires that actually physically move the headlight up and down. You've got your power and your ground for your HID. You got the long harness that goes across the front of the car to the other side, all the same connections. You got your grounds for both ballasts. It's going to screw right to the chassis on the car. You got your hot wire coming out of the main controller. It's going to go directly to your battery. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. Is you have this harness that's going to go to your factory headlight harness. It's going to go into this connector. But the problem, they don't tell you which wire's which, so you have no way of knowing which one's ground, which one's high beam, which one's low beam. So we basically have to try to figure that out on our own. Sure, we'll figure it out, but it would have been nice if they would have enclosed some sort of instructions or something, but we'll figure it out. Now that I got my headlights out, I can see the first problem I'm going to have with this install. You see this big cap, the factory wire harness sealed up in there real nice. It screws into the back of the headlight housing. Now without that cap, the back of the headlight's wide open, vulnerable to water and everything else getting in. And this cap's actually got a big O-ring on it, and it's sealed up real well from the inside. Of course, this harness needs to go to the vehicle harness over here, and we need to get all that mess into here. So I'm going to have to find a way to get those wires out, and get that big mess of wires through here, and somehow seal it all back up again so my headlights don't get full of water. Alright, we got a couple problems solved. I actually had to cut this harness so I could pull it through the cap, and I had to resolder all 3 wires back together, seal them up with some heat shrink so it'll be good as new. Didn't really want to do it, but it beats leaving this cap off. Because you leave this cap off and get all the moisture in there, and you get all kinds of problems later. So we got that. I had to make a hole big enough in that plug to fit all this nonsense through. Then I resealed it with some good Permatex Right stuff. It's really good stuff. So that'll be all set, nice and waterproof like it used to be. Just hope these bulbs last for a while, because it's going to be a real pain in the butt to change them later. Now this is for a 99 Lincoln Continental. If you have a car similar to this, regardless of the brand, if it has a similar headlight setup, you might have to do something like that. Now for the wiring, I went ahead and took a wild guess and assumed that the brown was the ground, which it is. And then we just had to figure out which one was high, which one's low, Now on my particular kit, the blue wire is the high beams, white wire is the low beams. Now we just got to put it in this connector in that same order, and we're all set. Alright, I got both side HID bulbs installed and sealed back up. Now we just got to find a place to mount our harness controller and these ballasts, which they didn't come with any screws, any hardware, any brackets, any double stick adhesive, nothing. So we got to find a place to mount these and put it all back together, and we'll be done. And just for a quick comparison, here's the stock halogen bulbs. Low beams, high beams. Not very impressive. Alright, and now the HIDs. Just like all of them, they start out pretty blue. And it starts getting a lot whiter. This DDM kit is not quite as white as the Zentech kit I just installed. Still got a slight shade of blue to it, but it's pretty white. High beams, low beams. Now this 5000K kit definitely seems a little bluer than the 5000K Zentech kit I just installed. Still pretty white, but it's got a little more blue than the other kit does. They look pretty bright. Have to see how it looks going down the road. There they are. There's the low beams. There's the high beams. Now, the camera never does it justice, but they actually are pretty bright. Brighter than the stock headlights. I don't think they're quite as bright as the Zentech kit I installed, but they'll work. Just see if they last for a while.